Peace, peace, peace. Who in here with me today? It's been a long week. I was gonna go live in the coven and I realized that a lot of people are not getting notifications. So I'm on here. Um, a lot of the conversations that I like to have get me in trouble on this platform. So, yeah, the goal is to not do that, okay? But to still communicate. So, how are you? Hey, sis. You did. I saw you. Yes. Okay. Yes, you are approved. I'm excited for you to get a chance to jump in there. That's actually what I'm going to talk about. I did a previous live stream. Um, this was last weekend, and it was so good, so juicy. I mean, talking about stuff that you wish you had people to actually talk to about, you know? And it's like 90 minutes long. So definitely watch that live. It's only like 3 things for you to do because the last thing we need is more demands and a lot of stuff to do and time consuming things. So I'm all about the soft life. And to be honest with you, I was raised as a hustler. So me talking about soft life, honey, let me tell you, it did not come natural to me. Okay. There's a whole man inside of me and he likes to work. Hey, Janae. How are you, sis? Yes, you did. I do not do these often. I actually just decided that I was going to start back doing pop-ups on occasion. So it's nice to see you here. I don't know if you know about the coven, but I jumped on here to talk about that. And as you can see, my YouTube is back. We back. We back. So y'all can show love. Y'all can comment. You get crowns for your engagement. Like it's so many beautiful things happening over here. Yes, we back. Yes, it is. Look, I'm telling you, the readings lately just been everything. Been everything. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna I'm gonna try to tell y'all a little bit about what we're doing in the coven, and I'm gonna touch on some of the things happening in the world. You need something? I'm gonna touch on some of the things that's happening in the world, as to why it's so important for us to be tapping into, you know, our spiritual technology of our body. My hair is just annoying me so bad. Um, so yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. So I made a post today. In the post that I made today, I was talking about the exile goddesses. This is so trippy. Check this out. It's so beautiful that it's just like a couple of us in here, because that's exactly how I like it. I don't want a whole lot of people, you know, does not really align. I would rather have a few who really is on this frequency, you know? Yes, it is so intense. Yes, 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 absolutely. So, like all of the readings that I offer, it's really, really unique at what you get access to. Yes. Peace to you, spiritual gifts. I see you. Yes. Peace, peace, peace. Peace to you, Mary May. So check this out. I'm a gatekeeper. I know a lot of people like to say they don't gatekeep. I'm a gatekeeper. And when I say that, I mean that there are levels to what I share with people from the Akashic Records. I'm not going to give out everything in like these public platforms and settings. This was the whole purpose we had covens, sisterhoods in the first place. Everything is not for everybody. It's not for everybody to know. And right now, when you look at like online and the feed and everything, like it is a major energy harvesting that's going on right now. And everything feels intense. And I'm going to tell you why it's so trippy. I've been having so many epiphanies. But as women are going through these activations, and even if men are healing their feminine energy, they are a part of this too. So what happens is when you start getting activated, what happens is the illusion, the illusionary world that we live in, that we co-created, it starts to feel uncomfortable. You start to feel like you have outgrown your reality. You start to feel like you have outgrown even certain people that you follow, certain belief systems. You feel like you no longer really identify with things that used to resonate with you. You just start to feel different. Your body starts to feel different about certain foods. Like, it's just, I went through a phase of not really even caring about eating. And I would be content, like just doing a couple of smoothies a day. And I just went through this phase where I was like, I don't know what's happening to me, but just, I used to be a foodie. And like that love for food, it like just went away. And I was like, what's happening to me? So like back in the day, like take me to Red Lobster, baby. I'm finna get them cheddar biscuits. You know what I'm saying? I'm finna get me some crab legs or some lobster. You know, I'm gonna follow it up with a cheesecake. Like back in the day, that felt like a special thing to be experiencing. And now it's something that I wouldn't even want in my body. Like when you really get activated, your desire for things changes. And not only that, but it can seem like you're in a bubble where like you're living in a world where stuff is obvious to you, but it seems like everybody else around you in your circle of influence is oblivious to it. And so it's obvious for you, oblivious for others. And that can be really lonely because sometimes soul conversations is actually what we're hungry for. So where I used to, I think I was trying to satiate my soul through food. And now I am fully aware that it is the resonance and the soul conversations that satiate me. And you know, it's the empty calories, the eating the processed foods, all of those things, like it don't hit the same. It don't hit the same. And so it seems like everybody is talking about transformation, but very few people are actually really willing to do the work. And you know, I'm not putting them down. I went through a phase where I wasn't willing to do the work either, right? But we cannot look at what's happening in the world and not have any accountability in it, because the simulated reality is a reflection of our inner world on a collective level. That's not a negative thing. That is a really good thing. And so what happens is I'm going to click on this because I don't know what this is, but okay. Yeah. All right. Whatever this is. Okay. It's not going away. Okay. Maybe I shouldn't have clicked on that. They got too much stuff going on here. I ain't did this in so long, y'all. So drag here to end Q&A. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if y'all can see a little box on the screen. Um, but anyway, I don't know how to get it off of there. I'm trying to drag it and you're not letting me drag it. Okay. Oh, I did it. Okay. You said you there now, even being a chef. Yep, I'm finding myself. I have to make, yes, make that differently. So, okay, so much I want to say. I don't know if y'all watch Soil and Green or not. Okay, yes, Interview with a Vampire is all relevant. I watched all of it, and the relevancy of it is what I'm saying. So, if you watch Soil and Green, and I'm going to speak because of community guidelines, I'm going to speak in terms of movies and entertainment. This is for entertainment purposes only. But on Soil and Green, they what they were eating wasn't what they thought it was. Right? You need something? You need my phone? Okay. What they were eating isn't what they thought it was. Right? And we're there now. And a lot of people are just not waking up to it. And this is why a lot of people, especially certain stores that you go to, you really don't know what you buy. You really don't know what you're getting. So the reality of it is, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that those who have engineered this, and we're kind of like in this food scarcity, food shortage, and especially for the people who are awake, we don't want to put certain stuff in our body. And that can lead to issues, it could lead to you not getting eating enough, not being able to have enough energy. Like, all of this is by design. But then you also have another group of people who seems like they eat any and everything, whatever they want to eat, and there are no consequences to it, right? But your body is super sensitive to food, right? It's sensitive to light, it's sensitive to sound, it's sensitive to smells. It's even certain perfumes and like Bath and Body Works and stuff like that. Like, I can't even tolerate that stuff anymore. It's like, if it's not a natural essential oil, like, I can't even tolerate it. So we can touch on the whole vampiric part, because I'm going to say something that's probably a hot take and might be controversial. But if you think about Mother Earth needs the sun to feed her energy, to feed her plasma. So we're in the sixth solar cycle. So the sun is basically like waking up. It's interesting. It's waking up. Consciousness mirrored on the planet is waking up. And so it sends these plasma, these beams of plasmas to Earth, and she consumes it. We consume it, right? This is why you have things like sunbathing, nature bathing. Every living being on this planet consumes something for the purpose of energy supply, right? Now, the vampiric quality comes in when people are unconsciously absorbing, consuming, taking what's not theirs, taking energy that is not being reciprocated. So, back on the topic of the feminine. Now, the feminine has been the battery for the simulated reality of what we call the 3D matrix. The patriarchy actually was not being fueled by men. Y'all know I'm country, so I'm saying fuel, Fuel. But it wasn't being fueled by men, it was being fueled by women. This is why more women are dealing with exhaustion, burnout, and chronic fatigue than men are, because their energetic system was not hacked into and used to keep us stuck in this reality. Hope this is making sense. Okay. So, what happens is, when we start going through this awakening, we start becoming aware of where energy is leaking out of us. This is something that takes practice, because you really don't know where you're leaking energy Usually, the first thing that you know is where you feel that you have less of it. But being able to discover where the leaks are, that's a separate thing. So, because we are in Scorpio season, I launched the coven astrologically for a reason so that it would maximize the impact of the work that we're doing there. Now that we're in Scorpio season, Scorpio is depicted by a woman or female scorpion stinging the foot of a man. This is the mythology around Scorpio. So we're gonna see the patriarchy and those who are still participating in the patriarchy. We're gonna see the impact of that. And the truth, the purpose of why we're here in this time is going to become more and more clear to us. And that can sound exciting, but it can be a bit overwhelming because some of the things that may be true are uncomfortable to feel. And when you discover that there are people who have benefited off you being the wounded version of you, they may not celebrate you stepping into the empowered version of you. And there's levels to this because we go through phases of this, right? So in the beginning, my focus was on the external rituals, magic. Y'all, I'm sure y'all know like the simple ones, like the bay leaves for making wishes come true and writing what you want to manifest on the bay leaf and burning it. Super simple stuff. Things like writing a petition and sprinkling cinnamon in the petition. Cinnamon is a sweet spice that attracts, is magnetic. Using things like lodestone, which is very magnetic to attract something you're desiring to come into your life. All of the herbs, like I studied all of this stuff. I studied it so deeply and taught it. Some of y'all may have even been in my previous covens where I taught this. Okay, so that's one thing. But now it has shifted to the internal work, the internal alchemy. Because here's the reality: if something is siphoning energy from you, it could be narcissistic abuse that you're not actively participating in anymore, but it's still taking energy from you, right? Because it's certain energetic cords that need to be severed to stop it. And so we're going to see a lot of men feeling distressed and distraught because what they thought was their own energy, they're going to realize that it was actually coming from the feminine. And so we're kind of like withdrawing our energy, calling our energy back. And the result of that is a system that's going to collapse because it was never meant to be sustainable. This is why the feminine is considered the chaos. The masculine is considered the order. Okay? So, chaos has gotten a negative attachment to it. It's not negative. All of us are here as a result of chaos called the Big Bang. That was chaos, but it gave birth to creation, right? So, as this is happening, what I foresee happening is that a lot of men who are not healing their own feminine energy are going to start feeling depleted, start feeling disconnected, just start feeling like life is lackluster, things just don't hit the same. Even depression, we're going to see a lot of depression. We're going to see a lot of anxiety, a lot of substance abuse, escapism, because people are trying to cope with this huge infrastructure that is being dismantled. And recently, I'm going to connect this to a world event. And I'm going to do a decoding really, really soon. And I will announce when I'm going to do that decoding. And I'm going to be talking about Angie Stone and D'Angelo, because there are spiritual lessons in things that happen within all of our lives. But people who happen to have been in the limelight, the spiritual lesson that comes through that for those that have one eye open to see is really deep, powerful, and transformational, and can act as a catalyst for you to use in your own life. So, see, I don't do decodings just because my spiritual ego wants people to see how good I am in connecting dots that other people can't connect. That's not the purpose. The purpose in everything that I do is so that you can change your life, right? So with that being said, as you notice, it was Angie that was taken out first. But check this out. This is why I knew it was time for me to go ahead and start another coven. Because before her life was taken, she was battling with a blood infection. Now, I have had over 100 blood infections. I have 15 boxes of medical records that I paid for to have. And it was so many, we didn't have enough room in our house to keep them. And we had to get a storage unit to put the paperwork in. That's how much paperwork it was. So I know firsthand how difficult it is to beat a blood infection. And a lot of people do not survive blood infections. It's also called sepsis or a staph infection. Now, because I have been on the verge of death so many times, it gives me a depth, an experience, and an ability to walk between realms and see through the veil more easily. Because once you have near-death experiences or have to fight to remain in your physical body, this is a form of spiritual warfare. And because I have survived hundreds of them, you can kind of look at it like a Navy SEAL who has had 100 battles, right? They're considered highly decorated because of that. So for me to be in this feminine body and to have had to go through that, those things, though they were meant to take me out, actually amplified, activated the power that was lying dormant within me. When I heard about that, I said, this is a reflection of what's happening with the feminine on the planet. Blood is connected to life force energy. In metaphysics, blood is connected to the ethers. The ethers is this energy that's in the air that nobody can really grab. You can't patent. You can't take it and put it in a jar. It just exists. It just is. And it cannot be owned by anybody, right? Trust me, if they could, they would. And so we all have an etheric body. And that etheric body, if you look at it, it's kind of like it's atmospheric, right? It's the layer of the body that's right outside of the astral body. And your astral body is the part of you that dreams. That's the part of you that's able to leave your physical body, go and have experiences that we call dreams, and then you come back to your body when you wake up. This is why if you wake up before your astral body is back in your physical body, You feel paralysis. This is what that is. Because the body is designed to not harm itself. So if your astral body hasn't made it back to your physical body, then the physical body has a fail safe and it's going to shut down and it's going to hold you still until your astral body is summoned back inside of your physical body. Now, she went through that. The feminine has been the life force for so many things: church, religion, corporations. Behind every great man, there's a woman. We have been the backbone of society. We have been the backbone of families. You usually hear people talk about Big Mama, but you really don't hear a lot of people talk about Big Daddy when it comes to somebody who step in a time of crisis or holds the family together or stops the family from fighting over things. It's usually that big mama energy that does that. And Angie Stone carried that energy. She was a pure alchemist. And it manifested even in her name. Because when you look at stone, you also can think about something that is used to be a foundation or a pillar. You could also think about the capstone of the pyramid. So she was Big Mama energy, okay? When she survived that, I knew that something else was going to happen, and I wasn't sure if she was going to make it. Keep in mind, as I'm having this conversation with you, that this is all a reflection of the collapse of the 3D matrix, politics, everything that is happening. Western medicine, everything seems to be collapsing. Government funded programs are shut down. A lot of people can't get the medical care that they need. SNAP benefits that a lot of disabled people, elderly people, senior citizens, people who are just in situations where they're doing the best that they can do, you know. When things that have been around for a long time start to be taken away, that is a reflection of the simulated reality, the illusion that we have been living inside of. It's breaking down because a new timeline, not the artificial timeline. There are more than one timeline. There's an artificial timeline. An artificial time is created by the Gregorian calendar. The purpose of it was for us to trade our energy, our life force for wages. That was the entire purpose of changing, altering the calendar to no longer be centered around the lunar phases, but around the solar. Lunar is feminine energy, solar is masculine energy. So, with these reversals came many distortions. And within those distortions, because this is meant to be a corporation, corpse, listen to the words, etymology will tell you what type of spell work went into creating that particular system. And so, as these things are breaking down, we're being activated, right? And it could look like everything is negative. This is all bad. And a lot of it is leading to difficulties, strife, and challenges for some people, but it's temporary. These are the birth pains. Mama Earth is in labor. She is creating a new timeline that's not artificial based. We're moving back to a more natural state. And moving back to that natural state means that it's going to require us to come out of survival mode. Because survival mode for many of us, that's the space that we rest in. We try to, because it's normal for us. We wake up in the morning, thinking about all the things we got to do, how productive we got to be, the bills we got to pay, the job we need to keep that we probably don't like, the money that we need to make, the debt that we have. Everything is centered around things that drain our life force. And so our chakras have been used as like supercomputer centers, right? But we're like the batteries to fuel these things, to fuel these agendas. And so because we're shifting back to a natural state, it's going to require us to shift our nervous system back to a natural, safe, nervous system regulated state. This is called the parasympathetic nervous system, and I cannot talk about this enough. The only way to survive the chaos that is coming between the time that I am recording this live stream and I would say about March to April of 2026, we're going to see some things that we may have thought we would never see. Okay? We're going to see things happening that we thought was just in a movie. A lot of movies are going to start to feel even more so like documentaries. Okay? Now, when you start to heal your nervous system, you start to purge entities. And some of these entities attached to you prior to you incarnating in this physical body. Some of these entities attached to us in a past incarnation. And let me give you an example. There are certain um, energetic beings that exist outside of the light spectrum that's visible to us, and they feed on human suffering. So let's talk about fear, which is one that we can clearly see is a mass epidemic of, and it's an entity, an egregore, in which they have this collective thought form, this Faustian pact, that is this agreement by the rulers of the simulated reality to feed these entities. This is known as gnosis, this information, and it's in a lot of Gnostic text. So let's just say fear. If in a past life your entire family passed away because of a famine, and maybe you were the last one to pass away, do you think your spirit and your soul is going to be completely at peace and erase that experience? Because it's not. The nervous system records our experiences across lifetimes. This is why religion wanted to make us not believe in past lives. Because if you don't believe in that, you're not going to be able to purge anything that is keeping you small, sick, and fearful. So, religion was used as a narcotic to numb us, dull us, and to also put us in a containment field of consciousness. Well, that's starting to lose its power as we shift more out of the age of Pisces and into the age of knowledge, where now we can do deep dives, we can do the research. We don't have to go by word of mouth. We don't have to believe the beliefs that we inherited from other people. A lot of us are asking ourselves, well, wait a minute, where did that belief come from? Why do I believe that? Do I really believe that? Just because everybody else told me that that's what it is, but that may not be what I actually believe. So we're questioning these things, right? And when people start to go through a mass awakening, you're going to often see anything that was based in illusion crumble. Another thing that has happened is music. Music has lost its magic. Music and most musicians who are out now, especially the younger generations, because of this unhealed generational trauma, the power of the soul has been fragmented to such an extent to where their creation lacks that life force energy that we remember, for those of us who are old enough to remember. It just don't feel the same. They can have a beautiful voice, that you can tell that they're talented. They can even be a great songwriter, but something just feels like it's missing. And this is because of the damage to the soul. In shamanic teachings, this is called soul loss. All of us are here on Mother Earth in this earth school to recalibrate so that the parts of our soul that was fragmented can come back to us. It's kind of like a mirror. And when you break a mirror, it's difficult to put the pieces back together, right? And so this is where we are now. Now, with music, it was one of the main things that was used to harvest energy, not only to generate belief systems, to create culture, and to subconsciously, subliminally implant thoughts and ideas, values, right, inside of us while we're completely unaware. And it was changed to be created in 440 hertz, which is a very disharmonious frequency, instead of 432, which is a natural frequency. So the synthetic disharmonious frequency is what's been used internationally with radio stations. Well, why is that? Because this is required to keep the net around the planet so that souls are not capable of going through their natural evolutionary process. And so now that we're desiring to be a better version of ourselves, and we have been hurt enough, betrayed enough, misunderstood enough, abandoned enough, abused enough to realize that the answer must lie within me, because I've tried all of these other things and they don't work for me. Let me tell you something. When you are not meant to cross over to a higher frequency of living, which is what we can call the new earth frequency, you don't get uncomfortable with your life. You're kind of content with things being how they are, right? But when you are called to step out of that reality, you start to feel the distortions. You start to feel the distortions with how you feel about yourself. You start to feel how bad it feels to listen to these voices inside of your head that make you doubt yourself and just make you feel like you're not even worthy of the things that you want, that make you feel like you got so many issues, you will never achieve what it is that you want to achieve, right? So these voices are thought forms. Thoughts are energy, and they can take form and actually become an energetic entity. And what they do is they connect with each other and they instigate between us so that we continue to resonate in a wounded manner. And as long as we're resonating, identifying, being triggered back into the holographic reality of hollow love, check the words: empty, empty love. We're starting to feel it. We're starting to feel how much maybe we don't love ourselves as much as we hoped we did or thought that we did. And we're starting to notice, right? And so that's usually the first level of awakening, is that your awareness starts to shift and you start to self-police, right? And so the reason we're seeing so many different forms of law enforcement being put out into streets and certain cities and neighborhoods is because those cities where they are being sent are actually places on specific ley lines that are being activated, as within, so without. So as you start to self-police yourself, right? As you start to be your own guard, as you start to learn what boundaries are and why you need them and to use them, as you start to patrol, as you start to pay attention to thoughts, all of these things, as you start to do these things, it's going to be mirrored outside of us as well. So they know that the collapse is happening. And because they are trying to prepare for the collapse, you can take you another elderberry if you need it. And is that what you needed? Okay. And as society collapses in this way, we're going to have to learn how to take care of ourselves. We're going to have to learn how to be self-aware. We're going to have to learn to be emotionally regulated, because a spiritually activated person who is not emotionally regulated is a person that is devastated, and that person creates devastation, even if it's not intentional. Let me say that again. And I'm not trying to knock nobody, but I do see a lot of people that got huge followings, and they're really I mean, they're giving out something, but like this wisdom right here, it's only attained when a soul has walked the path that I have walked, you know. So it's only a certain level of depth that some people can go with this. I am an activator. I'm a white galactic wizard. So the access to the Akashic records, my Jupiter is in my 12th house. So my entire subconscious mind is connected to the Akashic records, which contains the data of everything that ever happened, ever will happen, and every probability of how it's going to play out. So knowing that I predicted the boots on the ground years ago, okay? And we're there now. I talked about this, and I'm not going to get into it deep here, but that's on my Patreon and my Substack, okay? But there were certain levels of um certain levels of attention that was needed to feed that, because wherever attention goes is where the energy is going to flow. They needed the energy to do that. So this was like the 3D Matrix last stand to try to survive. The 3D Matrix is now in survival mode. And the more we come out of survival mode, the less the 3D Matrix will be able to survive. At one point in time, it was thriving. Now it's just trying to survive. So you can look at this and see this as like a seesaw, and the energy is shifting. One is rising up and the other is going down. Okay. Now, why am I talking about this? Why is this so important? Because these entities, when you start learning how to attune your mind, your body, and your soul, here are some of the things that's going to happen. Your mind is going to start to glitch. You're going to start to forget stuff. You're going to start to have brain fog. You're going to find yourself not being able to recall simple things, like people's names that you've known for a long time, and it's just on the tip of your tongue and it just stays stuck there. Because you're shifting from being a mind frequency led individual to an intuitive heart led individual. And so the access to the information is going to be a little mixed up. And so when your frequencies are being recalibrated, these are some of the things that happen. Now, there can also be medical reasons that this happens. Like for me, we had black mold in the house, and it was one of the things that was creating brain fog for me. But I want you to remember something. And I'm the only person that I have ever known to say this. But any symptom that you experience is connected to a spiritual ecosystem. You cannot separate the two because we are spiritual beings. The body is simply the vessel, the body is simply the mirror. So if something is happening in your car, for example, more than likely you're going to have to look into the computer system that runs your car to see what code is being read out showing an error, right? That's the first step. So you start having symptoms. And so ascension sickness is something that's been confused with this whole epidemic situation, and it makes it difficult for people to decipher their symptoms. They all mean something, they carry a message, and they also are supposed to act as a catalyst for your transformation. So, what I realized was a lot of the symptoms that we have been experiencing, we have been programmed to be really quick to write it off, to ignore it, and to push through. That's no longer going to sustain us. If you are not listening to your body, which is actually the third temple, Jerusalem, the 12 disciples, the throne of God, Noah's Ark, all of these things are actually stories about things that live inside of our human body. Now, there are 6 subtle bodies, so the physical body is just one of them. But specifically, the pain body has been too heavy, too dense, and that's why we haven't been able to magnetize things in our life that are a reflection of the frequency of love. So we're having to work through that. We're having to detox. We're having to figure out, okay, what's going on with my mind and what is it that I need to do? What's going on with my body? What is it that I need to do? What's going on with my soul? What is it that I need to do? Right? Now, I had a lot of resistance about this because when you live in survival mode for a certain amount of time, doing things that don't seem like it's going to lead to an immediate result, it don't feel conducive. So you're going to have resistance. You may have procrastination. And trust and believe when I tell you the entity attachments, they go get to going. They go get to giving you a whole lot of reasons not to listen to certain information, not to practice it, and not to be devoted to it. Because the system needs us to do what we have always done so that it can stay on top. Okay? Now that I've said all of that, the reason that I started the covenant this time, and some of my lives are only going to be there and working with women, because we are the key. We are the key to the entire planet. And what's happening with us within our mind, body, and soul has a huge impact on everything else. Now, men who are reconnecting with their feminine also are playing a major role. Men who are learning to heal themselves so that they can protect the feminine, so that we can do this work, play a very major role. And this is the reason that the patriarchy programmed men to feel uncomfortable with certain things that would actually be conducive to their growth. So if you was to say to the average man The way that you treat the woman in your life actually creates your reality. He probably would blow it off because he thinks that work alone and punching the clock is what's creating his reality. Money is what's creating his reality. When in reality, what creates his reality is how he treats the one that incarnates human beings to sustain reality. And so in Kabbalah and many other teachings, they teach about the feminine principle and the protection and the containment that it requires to do what it is here to do. So, this is why there has been so much division between men and women. Even though we have both masculine and feminine characteristics within us, we have been imbalanced. And the ego gets in the way. The subconscious program gets in the way. The entities get in the way. They are afraid. A lot of people, because of what's happening with the economy, a lot of people can't even get in the space to even make love anymore. Making love is never what's supposed to be just a way for us to just get off and that's it, use each other's bodies. It's supposed to be a sacred alchemical act, a ceremony, and it's very powerful. The hormones that's released, the chemicals that's released, the way it affects neurology, the way that it affects the immune system, the way that it affects health, the way that it helps us to reconnect with each other in a very vulnerable space. All of those things. This is why sex magic was like forbidden and was taken out of all religion. It's still in there. It's just hid, you know. But they don't want us making love. They want us making fear. And so, in order for us to be a part of the solution, and when I say solution, I spell solution SOULLUTION. It's the solution that comes from the soul, not the solution that comes from your mind. Okay? In order for us to actually shift the planet, we have to step into our power and realize how powerful we are, even if we feel small, even if we feel like we're failing at certain things in life, even if we feel like we're not doing as good as we should be doing, even if we feel disappointed in ourselves, even if there are things in our reality that we see that we wish we could change, even if we have regrets about decisions that we made, despite all of those things, all of that is ego, all of that is illusion, all of that is rooted in fear. Because we are not failures. No matter how many mistakes we make, we are not losing. We are always on the path of growth. But the illusion uses those external things to make us feel small so that we don't step into our power. I've tried many things to be able to do that. Affirmations, meditations, lucid dreaming, astral travel, plant medicine, supplements, energy work, bioenergy field work. Like there is, I don't think it's anything that I haven't tried yet, right? This is how deep I've been on this spiritual journey. And right now, what I have found to be the most transformational thing is to be able to consistently do one thing for at least 21 days. If you can do it consecutively, even better. Because if you do it that long, you're creating a new habit, and inside of the brain, you're growing a new neurological synapses. It's kind of like a new branch to the tree. The tree of life, the tree of good and evil, all of that lives within us. And so we need to create new branches because you can't just use the old branches to create a new reality, because the version of you that created the reality that you're in now is not going to create a new reality. So your tree of life needs to grow new branches to change your life, to branch you off of the timeline that is collapsing and onto a timeline where you start to magnetize things into your life that's aligned with you, that's going to benefit you, that's not going to require a lot of effort, and that's not going to siphon you of your energy. So, 21 days, choose one thing. Now, I'm sharing this with everybody right now. But in the Untamed Sister Coven, and this is free, completely free, and it's in a sacred space for a purpose. And this is what the goddesses that I work with told me to do. But in there, there's a 21-day challenge. And the reason why I set it up that way is because when you challenge yourself to do something, it allows the ego to get on board. The ego likes certain challenges, depending on how you frame it. So it's like, don't nobody want to feel like they're a loser, right? And so the ego is like, I don't want to feel like no loser. So instead of having to drag your ego to try to do something and be devoted to something, the ego will get on board because the ego knows on the other side of this, there's a reward, right? And so it took 21 days for me to have a breakthrough. Now, I hired a myofascial release practitioner, one of the best in the country. I would even say best in the world. And in working with her and working with parts of my body, certain movements in my body, certain poses, positions in my body, I started to unlock emotions that was trapped inside of certain parts of my body that I didn't know was there. And guess what? The emotions that was trapped inside of me is what was acting as a battery for the entities that was keeping me in a disempowered state of being. And so there were times where I may be working on my right shoulder and all of a sudden grief would come up or anger would come up and I would cry, or I would get so, you know how you get so mad, you just cry. I would get so mad, I would just cry. And I was like, wow, that was living inside of my shoulder. Why are we looking at our body like it's just this small thing, however tall you are and however much you weigh? No, we are the microcosm of the macrocosm. There are entire worlds that live inside of a human's body. And so I started to go inside of my body with my third eye to see what was happening. And I said, no wonder I haven't been able to have breakthroughs. This had not been my focus. My focus had been everything else. Every podcast, every viral trend, every viral video, every ritual, every ceremony, everything. I had tried it all. And I wasn't getting the outcomes and I was frustrated. So working on that, working on my rib cage, started to relieve grief that I didn't know that I had that was suppressing my lungs, which is why I would have respiratory issues, respiratory infections, just feeling like I can't take a breath, getting tired more easily. All of these things are symptoms that you got stuff trapped in your body, and the stuff that's trapped in your body is keeping you in the ecosystem of the egregores that are created to siphon energy. So until we clear that stuff out of us, you can call energy back with affirmations and meditations and journaling as much as you want to. But if you are not clearing stuff out of your physical body, which is a whole fucking universe, nothing is going to happen for you. Nothing is going to move. The reason it works for some people, because they coincidentally are already doing yoga or physical work or qigong or tai chi, and they just so happen to do a meditation, and then they have these outcomes. A lot of times it's accidental for a lot of people, okay? But you want to do this consciously. So for 21 days, taking yourself through a somatic release, showing up like that every day. When I tell you, if it's some stuff that's been repressed, suppressed down in you, it's going to start coming out. And the depression that I used to experience, it don't stick as long as it used to. It's not as deep as it used to be. I used to take antidepressants. I went through a phase of just being willing to take whatever they was going to give me to help me. I'm not having that as much. And even with the negative thoughts, like I'm able to check them a lot sooner. I'm more emotionally regulated than I've ever been. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I still get upset. Shit happens. I actually had a rage video on TikTok, I think from yesterday. Like I had a whole segment moment. I had fucking fire coming out of my aura. I was so angry just at the realization of what has been done to us transgenerationally. And then we're blamed for being how we are when we're not the only ones that created this reality. From who creates the textbooks that's used in schools. If you don't know about that, look it up. It's just like it's so insidious and so diabolical, the structures that have been operating in the way. And I mean, I don't knock it, because it's up to us to do something to change it, right? And it's a great catalyst. Chaos, magic, alchemy is learning how to take the shit that's messed up and turn it into something else. And my whole life has been about that. And so this is why we look at other people and it would seem like their lives just had a level of peace and stability. And it just, I was like, why is that seem like that's something that is unattainable for me? Like, but I wasn't meant to live comfortably in the simulated reality. That's why. And so for a lot of us, we do go through these up and down waves, and we hit rock bottom and then we get up again, and then we get to the mountaintop and then we hit rock bottom again. Don't let that make you think that something is wrong with you. It just means you're not meant to thrive in a system that's not sustainable and that's being destroyed. Okay? Absolutely. So the entity attachments, I went over that. It's usually the thoughts and physical symptoms, the cravings, the things that you know you should let go of, that you have a hard time letting go of. That's usually entity attachment. But I don't want you to get too fixated on that part, because I haven't have yet to meet a human being who doesn't have some type of energetic entity that is operating within their auric field. So that's part of this journey. That's what spiritual ascension is all about. It's about us clearing out the old template so that we can lay a new foundation. So I have went on for an hour. Y'all, this is longer than I expected. I hope this resonated with you. Like, hit that like if this resonated with you. So, let me know, so that I can continue to curate my content in a way that's going to be of high service to y'all. I've said so much, but for the women who are watching me now or watch me later, like, the links to the coven is there. For those of you who want to do the deeper dives into the decodings, that's on my Patreon. You can get a lot of stuff for free, but you can get a lot more stuff for $1. And the higher the tier that you choose, the more information you're going to have available to you. There's a lot of videos that's on there that were banned and that were deleted, that I uploaded there. So go and, like, do those deep dives. If you like going into rabbit holes and getting information, like, it's there. Okay. As far as the 21-day challenge, we've already started it, but it's not too late. No matter when you see this video, it's my goal. I pay to hold these spaces, have these apps, have these websites and communities, because I really do believe in us. I believe in our soul's mission, and I believe in why we're here as star seeds. So that community is going to be there. But the sooner you start, the better. I want y'all to get a head start, because as we're seeing things crumble, we're literally seeing the White House be tore down. Like, who would have ever thought that would happen, right? It's so many things happening, and this is just the beginning. So I want you to get a head start on it. If you can't join a coven, or maybe it just don't resonate for you, or maybe you are a male, just search for somatic release and commit to doing it every single day. Find one that's quick. If you tend to be somebody who starts stuff and it's hard for you to finish it, find one that's about 15, 20 minutes long. Like, don't try to do too much at once, because that will make the ego back out. But if you keep it simple, if you set the bar low, then you have more chance of succeeding, and that's going to build up your confidence. And the more confidence you have, the more you're going to be able to purge out these things that keep us playing small and afraid to step into our authentic selves. And let's be real, being authentic can be very scary, because a lot of us don't, our nervous system doesn't see that as safe. Okay, it sees that as unsafe and a threat, and a lot of it is because of the way that we were raised. So I've given y'all the gems. I've given you the keys. I suggest that you watch this video again. Maybe even take some notes. Write down what you're going to commit to. And let the universe know, like, I did not come to play. I'm not playing no more. I'm tired of playing. I'm tired of feeling like I'm being played with. And I'm finna take my journey serious. And I'm finna actually do this. Okay? And I just want to send love. Thank you so much, Hummingbird and Brother Dominic, everybody else that's here. Like, shout out to y'all. Like I said, when I do the pop-up lives, I may or may not announce them. I will try to announce them, but you will get the email notification when I go live in the coven. Take the quiz that's in the coven. I posted a video all about that quiz. That is so important, because it's important because the exile goddesses are living inside of the body. Remember, the body is the microcosm of the macrocosm. They're living inside of the body. You want to be able to know which exile goddess is communicating with you. Take that quiz. It's only going to take a few minutes. And then share with us in the coven what your results were. So my next live stream, I'm going to be addressing your results, answers, and just going over whatever I can to help you all. But I need y'all to commit to this. Like, don't get off of here and doom scroll. Like, even if you just take 5 to 10 minutes, commit to doing something different, because what we do with our body, what we do with our nervous system, what we use our energy for is what creates our reality. And the more of us that we can reach, the more of us that we can get on board with doing this work, knowing that inside of you is everything that you need, and that outside of you is simply an expression of what's inside of you. That's when we can shift the paradigm. And we don't have to be fearful of a lot of the things that are happening, because we're going to be tapping into the unseen field, the quantum field of potential, and tapping into spiritual support. So you're not alone in this. I know it can feel like it, but you are not, okay? You are not alone. And I just want to send love to each and every one of you. And I will be definitely checking for everybody in the coven. And, if you're just now joining, just send the invitation and I will review it and accept your membership. And I just don't get in there and not do it. It's just three things in there: a quiz, a somatic exorcism, and a jaw release. It's so important, because we're going to need to be able to release the voice that is trapped behind the trauma. Okay? Thank you. Peace, y'all.